everyone. This is Jana Kellum here, and I am bringing you your Hump Day relation tip number 4. And I want to talk today about a subject that has come up quite a lot lately, and recently in client sessions and with friends and family, and as I'll talk to you about in a little bit with my son as well. So this subject is near and dear to my heart, as you will be able to tell. I have I've noticed lately this tendency to be in a relationship with someone that you really care about, and maybe you've experienced this too, where your partner, or maybe it's your friend or your mother or your sibling, says something to you that causes you to feel hurt or angry or offended, and you might find yourself thinking things like, I cannot believe that he said that. And very often that is coming from a place of assumptions and jumping to conclusions. And I call that pop judgments, because it kind of like, it sometimes doesn't even feel like a conscious thought process. It just kind of feels like pop, like this thing just kind of jumps into your head and you're like, this is crazy. This is you may think that this is something that I would never think that this person would say or do to me, and it's really hurtful, and you start to kind of construct this story around it, and it almost becomes like there's no way that you could even see that there's another possible way of looking at the situation. And what I find is happening there is that you're making an assumption based on what you would mean if you said or did that thing, or based on what you believe the other person means. So I sometimes refer to that as perspective blinders. They're kind of, in the horse world, we talk about blinders. It makes it so that you can only see something one particular way. So I'd like to invite you to be really careful about assuming that what the other person is doing is what you would mean if you did the same thing. So if you can't wrap your mind around any possible way that someone is doing or saying the thing that they're doing or saying besides what you believe the thing is, then that means that you've got your perspective blinders on. So I'd like to invite you to think about the possibility of changing that filter, changing that lens, taking off those blinders, and almost thinking about it like you can put on different pairs of glasses and try them on and see what maybe feels better, or feels like maybe it's even a better fit. So I want to share a couple of examples with you, because I think it'll help you to be a little bit clearer about how jumping to conclusions and making those kinds of assumptions can actually tear really good, really strong relationships apart little by little. The first experience, or the first example, actually has to do with my son, who is 2.5 years old. You haven't heard me talk about him lately. So yesterday he was eating a piece of orange, and he decided after a few slices of this orange that he, I guess, was all done with it. And he spit it out into his hand and threw it against the wall. And it wasn't, he didn't like look over at me and be like, I'm going to throw this thing against the wall and it's really going to make you mad. He was just like, I'm going to spit this out and then I'm going to throw it against the wall. Who knows what he was thinking? He could have been thinking something like, I can't eat this, it's too, this piece is too hard, or it's too chewy, or I don't like this taste anymore, or whatever. My reaction when I saw that orange segment hit the wall was initially like, I just got so frustrated, and I could feel that like welling up inside me, and I'm thinking like, why would he do this? He's totally got my number and he's just trying to piss me off, or he's regressing and oh God, there's something wrong with him, or whatever it is. I have kitties joining me for this call. I don't know if you'll be able to see them, but anyway, they're interested in what I'm saying because I'm getting very animated. So anyhow, he was doing whatever he was doing, and I was making these assumptions about what he was doing based on what it would mean if I had been the one to spit out the thing and throw it against the wall, which is obviously quite a different scenario. So fortunately, and somehow, I managed to take a breath and realize before going to address the situation that I could put on a different filter, a different way of looking at this. So I took that breath and I was like, whew, oh my gosh, it could be anything. Like maybe he was just having a really hard time chewing that and it kind of scared him and he was just like being 2.5 and being like, get this thing out of my mouth or whatever it was. But as soon as I started to even go in that direction of thinking about like, what could this possibly be, that's different than the way I'm feeling right now, that started to make me feel better. And it allowed for us to connect more and to be able to have fun for the rest of the day instead of it ending up being this like downward spiral of frustration for me and escalating kind of acting out for him, which we've experienced before. And I imagine if you're a parent, you probably are somewhat familiar with that cycle as well. So, so that's an example with my little one. And here's a grown-up example. You may have had the experience in your life of being in a relationship with someone or dating someone who says things like, I'm going to go home and make dinner and eat, as soon as I get off of work or whatever, I'm going to go home and eat dinner. And if you want, you can join me. Like if you feel like it, you can come over and have dinner with me. And I've heard this from clients and from friends, and I've experienced it for myself where it's like, there's something about that is so frustrating and so hurtful almost. It feels like, why is this why can't you just ask me directly? Like, I'd love it if you came over. That would feel way better than this whole, like, if you want to, I guess, kind of thing. Which just feels wishy-washy and kind of like just not great. So, so recently I had a conversation with a client and I said, there's a possibility that you're jumping to conclusions that you've got your perspective blinders on. Maybe there's something else going on here. Could you think of any possible other explanation for why when he invites you to do something, he invites you in that way? And she got to the place where she was like, oh, well, maybe he feels like he has to protect himself. Maybe he's been rejected in the past when he's been really direct about asking someone to come over or to go out, and so his way of protecting himself from that discomfort, from that hurt, is to be like, well, if you feel like it, if you want to, and kind of like, backing off of that really direct ask. So, so when she was able to get to that place of acknowledging that that's a possibility, that that's what he was doing, that not only soothed her, but it also allowed her to have an open conversation with him about that, and make it be a situation that wasn't necessarily tearing them apart, but actually helping them to get closer and to understand each other better. So, so those are a couple of examples that I think highlight this issue pretty well. So I'd love to hear from you, actually, if you're out there live and listening, or if you watch this later, and you feel like there's something that you've been kind of reactive about, or that maybe you have a pop judgment about, you're jumping to a conclusion, I'd like to invite you to just pause and ask yourself this question. Is there a possibility, even as small as it may be, is there any possibility that this person is coming from a place that's different than what I'm assuming they're coming from? And might that make me feel better? Might that be somehow soothing for me? And I would love to hear about your experience of this and if this video has helped you. So jump on into the comments and share your thoughts or your questions if you have any. I'm excited to get this conversation going, because I really feel like this is such an important thing, and we would have so many fewer relationship issues if we would stop making these assumptions about what other people are doing and saying. So go ahead and do that. And also, while you're here, I would love for you to subscribe to my live feed so that you can make sure to get next week's and the week after that and the week after that's Hump Day relation tips. And I look forward to seeing you then. Thank you so much. Bye, guys.